Hello, Blazor fans. Welcome back. Just getting some stuff set up here. Having some technical difficulties today. If something's not coming through properly, please let me know if the sound levels are off. If you hear static, anything like that, give me a heads up. I was having some issues with the microphone. It kept picking up a bunch of static for no reason whatsoever. So hopefully I cleared that up. I'm gonna show off some fun stuff here today. Uh, I installed a new plugin for Visual Studio. Let me see if I can. Let me get my Zoom. Not that Zoom. Zoom it. Let me get Zoom it running. Show you what I'm talking about. If we go up to extensions and click on Extensions Manager, and I go to installed. I added, if I can find out where it went. Maybe it's under tools. Nope. There's a thing in here called tweaks. Why am I not seeing it? There it is. Oh, because the icon's really dark. There we go. So I installed this thing called tweaks. And it's got a lot of things that add little nice nuanced features to Visual Studio. You can grab that on the Visual Studio Marketplace. It's by Mads Christensen, and I'm going to use that today to tinker with some stuff. Hello, Curious Drive and Eagle. Welcome back to the show. So here's the thing. If you install this extension, let's see if there's some more information here. Tweaks for Visual Studio. It has the ability to open reclosed files, autosave. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here. Restart Visual Studio command. That could be actually really handy. This is the one that I want to kind of get at here today on the show, is this presentation mode. Since I do a lot of these Twitch streams and other presentations, this is really cool. So if you have this installed, what you get is a command line task, or not command line task, start bar task. If I right click here, it says tasks presentation mode. It's similar to safe mode. Like you get a brand new, yeah, it didn't say, I didn't enunciate, I guess. I said Mads, but it came out as Mats, I guess. Yeah, Mads. Good old Mads. He's got lots of great plugins that I use for Visual Studio, by the way. But when you click on this presentation mode, you get a full new instance of Visual Studio with all of the settings. I believe they're set to default. So you get to kind of reset everything and start a new setup. So if I go to my Blazing Coffee solution, I put these side by side. This is great if you have stand-ups to do. So if you have like a weekly stand-up you have to do at the office, and you have all of your personal settings that maybe your coworkers don't care for when you're doing a stand-up, or maybe you gotta like zoom in the fonts and all that stuff, this is super handy. So you can see the two versions side by side here. And one of the things I always have to do for the show is I have to make the font size bigger. Let's pull a file up here really quick. It doesn't really matter which one. Pull up this component here. And you can see my normal font size is a bit smaller than what is required for a Twitch stream. So if I come in here and hit font, and I can change my font. I actually have another font that I use too, which I want in my presentation mode, but you could set these however you want. Maybe you don't want to have ligatures in your presentation mode, but right now I do. Oh, I see. I see a lot of people call them mats. Interesting. Let's see here. If we, I use Firacode. I want this in my presentation mode, but you may not want that in yours. Actually, I use FireCode Retina because usually I'm on 4K. I'm going to use FireCodes when I stream. I'm not using 4K. Let's see how that looks. It bumped up a little bit, but it's still 10 pixels. So I want to go back and up this just a little bit more. Let's go up to 16. Maybe that's a little too big. I know there's a preview down there, but it's not quite it. Well, let's go down to 14, actually. So I want that, and then there's another font setting in here somewhere. Is it projects? No. Ah, I can search, I think. Font. There's a couple areas where you can set. Nope. Where is that at? Does anybody know where that setting is? There's another setting for all of the things that are not the code editor to increase the font size there. Yeah, Curious Drive's on the same page. Do you know where that is, Curious Drive? It is in... I want to say... Nope, that's the text editor itself. Is it environment? General? Color theme, blue. I'll change... I need to actually install my themes, it looks like. Fonts and color, that's where I just was. I need, oh, here we go. Curious Drive has it. Font Environment Solution Explorer. Let me try this. Not seeing it come up in here. That's weird. So is it under environment, font? Oh, it's under here. Solution Explorer? Solution Explorer, where would you be? All text and tool windows. Boy, there is a setting for everything in here. I don't see Solution Explorer in here. What is this one? Nope, that's not it. Environment. Is environment in this list? I'm confused. Text editor, semi-completion. Let me try that again. I'm not finding it. Am I just like looking over it? Environment. I'm looking over it. Let's see here. There's fonts and colors. That's the editor, though. I accidentally put that on all. So if I'm in environment, where is the menus and Solution Explorer stuff at? It's not under general. I know Mads actually put a video out on this, and I followed along and forgot where the stuff was. Am I passing it up again? Command window. Let's look what Mads says.
Helpful things we can do for
so he points this out very clearly in his video. Thank you, Eagle, for the link. What I was hoping to do is fine-tune this for the show and get your feedback on what you'd like to see in this presentation mode, because it's what I'm going to use. Text editor, and then you scroll down to what? Oh my gosh. Oh my. So it's environment and then environment again. That's what I was missing. And then environment again. So environment, environment. That's why I was overlooking it. And then instead of automatic, I'm going to do the default just like he did. But I want to increase this to maybe a 12. There we go. That's better. That's better. All right. So, thanks for getting me that far. What would you all like to see? A light or dark theme? Do you all like dark? Dark. All right, cool. I'm going to go grab my theme that I use all the time then. Which is this mid-century theme here, because this new instance it's given me doesn't have any of my plugins installed. So you kind of have to copy all of your settings over manually and then change the few things that you want for presentation mode. Fix the background color behind the C# code in the Blazor files. Does my theme not... Let's see if this installs correctly. Does my theme not support that, Eagle? Or you talk about the default dark theme? Oh, my theme does that. Okay. Yeah, this is what my theme will look like when I get it installed. And if you all want to install it too, here, I can copy a link for it. But if you type mid-century in your search box, you'll find it. Otherwise, I can give you a direct link here as well. Yeah, I don't care for the Blazor syntax in the default theme. It does weird stuff. So the default has like that gray outline, which I find obtrusive for some reason. I'll show you what my theme does. So if I go from... So there's a light theme in here as well, if you haven't noticed this before. It's very... Okay, that was different. I have to set the font size every time I do that. So I have the light color theme in there. I put that one in there for folks that might like it. That's not my thing. I like the dark. And then I believe I have to restart again after I change that, or there's going to be some weird theming issues if you don't restart. Chrisic, thank you for joining the show. Welcome. Script font. So there's a couple streamers. I can't remember exactly which ones that... See, it changed my font size back. There's a couple that have, like, they open it up to their chat room. Like, there's a bot command that will change their font. That would not be good for me. I don't know if I could operate under those conditions. There we go. It changed my other font too. It changed my other font too. So I didn't see the settings persist. If I have to do this every time, then this tool is not for me. Let's try this one more time and see what happens. All right, I'm going to close this again. And let's see if the custom theme is what threw that off. I think it is, yeah. Yeah, bald bearded builder does that. And there's some really strange fonts in his library too, which I couldn't deal with that. It's too much distraction for me. But here, this is working now. So we've got it set pretty convenient here. I like the bigger Solution Explorer. I'm so used to like zooming in on it because it's always tiny. I wish I would have known about that ages and ages ago. So this looks pretty good. Does anybody have any other recommendations for the presenter mode, which is what you will all see every time you tune into the show from now on? If you do, let me know. And I don't know, is this normally on? Did I turn that off? I can't remember if this is something that is there by default that I've disabled on my normal instance. Don't remember that being there. Yeah, I don't normally use that, I think. I think I normally have that turned off. I may have to look that up. Yeah, you can manually set your Blazor tag helper attributes with fonts and colors. The properties. Oh, this guy here. Yeah, that goes away if you just kill it. Scroll bar options. I think it's this. That goes back to a regular. Yeah, I use the regular scroll bar. In my opinion, if you are writing so much code that you need like this giant scroll bar to pan through it all, it may be time to separate those things into different files, different functions. Make it, I don't know. I think it just hides bad code smells, in my opinion. That's just me. It also takes up a little bit of real estate that I could use for presentation mode, so we'll take that out as well. Yeah, my theme for anything Blazor, I put a black background on a light. So if I zoom in, it might actually be hard to see without a little zoom here. So I have a little bit of a darker background between this, cobalt gray color and then this, or charcoal gray, I meant. And then there's like a jet black behind the text. For me, that helps with like sections like this. It stands out a little bit more that that's code versus just standard HTML or text. So those are some of the themes I use. I also desaturate comments because I think comments are a little bit of a crutch too. You could still read them, but I try to keep them kind of out of focus. Comments are helpful if they're doing something like this, but not if they're like this is the width property. Like, we know it's the width property. We really don't need to see all that garbage. So anyway, get off my soapbox there. Where were we? If any part in the show, something is not easily visible, could be better represented by presentation mode, give me a heads up and we'll make that a permanent setting on presentation mode. This should be a lot clearer though for everyone to see on the stream, I think. Let me know if you still feel like I need to zoom in on any of the Explorer window over here. And I've got It's summertime, so I've got things flying around me. You see me swatting. Bump up the size of Solution Explorer just a little bit more. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we'll go back, and then it's edit environment. Try this at... Just trying to get it too out of control here. That's not too bad. Yeah, I think that works. It doesn't so much take up the horizontal space either. I think it takes up a little bit more vertical space, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, I like this too. This is super helpful if you're doing recordings like Curious Drive does. He's got a YouTube channel with lots of great videos. This is, I know this is going to be helpful for you as well. And it's helping with the viewers then too. So cool. All right, let's do some code here as well. I made the toolbars nice and big too, so everything can be seen much better. All right. So last time we did this, let's do Control F5, get the app up and running. When we run the application, we have our Blazing Coffee app, and we added some new customization features like auto theme detection, or I still haven't figured that bug out. I need to figure that one out. I don't know why it does that. It only does it like on first run, I think, which is really weird. But my drop down will lock up on me. But we can change theme now, and this theme will persist if I choose light theme, for example, and I close my app and I run it again. Oh, and really? I didn't have Visual Studio Focus, so it refreshed my browser and I lost chat for a minute. When I come back to the app, actually I should log in. Logging in will actually change that preference as well. It will persist that data, which is nice. So I'll set that back to automatic. Get my dark theme. And what I want to persist next, I want to do a little state management today. For example, if I have my toolbar expanded and I refresh, you see my toolbar comes back. And I need to persist that somewhere. It persists from page to page already, and I think that is due to just the Telerik framework doing that for me. When I load the app, though, I want that setting to be there. Another thing I want to do is I want to persist some of the state on these data grids as well. So, for example, if I'm setting my date range to like 3 months or something like that, I want it to persist those same 3 months. So I need to look at where I'm persisting these, or how to do that from page to page, because even if I go back, it gets reset. Curious Drive, I'm persisting the settings in local storage right now. So the idea behind the theme and the culture choosing portion of this is these are personal preferences that are set on the browser's local storage, because if I open this up on mobile, then I may have different preferences there. So I might not want to persist these in the server because they may change from client to client, even though I'm the same user on those clients. So I'm saving them in local storage, and these get, let's see, they get checked at different times during the app loading. So that's another thing I need to look at. Maybe I need to consolidate when they happen. This one, if I select a setting, it will check as the application initializes via JavaScript. This one gets checked as the application gets loaded through C#. So I need to check them in different places. I don't know if I want to move those around or not. I need to see if there's some refactoring there. So let's see. Let's do this. I want to persist. Let's make a little bucket list of things. I want to persist the state of my drawer. I want to also persist my grid information here. So we'll look at those two things. Let's look at this first because the drawer is at the topmost level of my application, and since it's at this top level, the context of it is allowing it to keep its state no matter what page I'm on. So if I navigate, it doesn't reopen the drawer. So this is somewhat stateful already just because of its placement in the hierarchy of components. Yeah, that's a good point, Curious Drive. Steve Sanderson's Car Checker app has a lot of local storage examples in it as well. So the drawer is a little more stateful, even with those. These buttons are external to the drawer itself. They still manage to not break the state of it. But this, if I change pages, just changing pages resets the state of the filters. So let's see if we can save that state and repopulate that. So there is the data grid. I actually had this in here at one point and took it back out. Let's look at, oops, that's the controller side. Let's look at the page sales report side. And we don't need the output window. We can close that down. What I can do here is I can save the grid state. The grid actually has a mechanism built in for this. And let's see if I'm using, I have a reference to it right here already. So I have a reference to the instance of it. I just need to call some APIs on it. So I'm going to go over the docs and find those. Docs.telerik.com. And we'll look at the state management of the Telerik UI for Blazor data grid. Let's see here. Components, data grid. And on the data grid, I've got states here. And we've got a good example of how to do the state management in here. So I need to call a few things. So we're actually doing local storage in this example as well. But the thing I need to look at is this onStateInit handler. And let's see, I can reset the state, onState changed. So let's look up at the top here. The data grid has a state init and a state changed method on it. And when we have those events, we can pull the event args in, and that gives us our information that we need for the state of the grid. So first thing we need to do is go up here. And I already have an onState state on an onState init. So let's put this right beneath it and say onState changed, and we'll handle that event as well. We'll copy some of this boilerplate here. We'll just use the event handler like that. OnState changed handler. Not using the word handler. I actually use that quite often, but for some reason I didn't use it this time. And then the type of grid changes. So these are strongly typed data grids. So we have a grid state of t, which is going to be sail, and then I need to write a state changed event. And when my state changes, I need to save that state somewhere. I think we're having a little discussion on Visual Studio Code versus Visual Studio in the chat. Don't know what the context of it is, but I think it came from the starting of the show here when I was talking about the presentation mode and people's preferences. So I've got something about custom filtering in here. Regions can be a code smell, but they can also be very helpful. And I'm using regions in here for different features of this page. Oh, moving the Solution Explorer to the left. Yeah, so I prefer my Solution Explorer on the right. And I don't know if it's just because of the way, like you were all saying in chat, what ecosystem you came from prior to Visual Studio. But for me, it's just natural for me to read left to right. And I prioritize reading my code over, I mean, I seldom look over here unless I'm navigating it. So I'm looking in this region of my monitor more for coding than I am for navigating. So I like to keep it over there. So it is personal preference, although the start menu comes up on the left-hand side. So it is kind of natural UX to come over here for navigation. Before they messed around with the Windows OS, I used to have mine set up like this before they decided to go to like tiles and all that. This is actually a much nicer setup. You don't see this very often. But they kept moving things, and I just got used to the defaults again. But this used to be my setup. Navigating up to the right-hand corner and finding your app is actually a lot faster, believe it or not, than trying to figure out where things are down in the bottom left-hand corner, at least for me. I should go back to that sometime. Also, you have a lot more real estate when you do this, believe it or not. This takes up a lot less space on a pixel basis than it does this way. It takes up more. Anyhow, so region. I'm going to say state management. And yes, I am using regions, but I'm using them correctly. I'm grouping features together here. Just grouping some features. This isn't anything I could have really refactored out anywhere. I could put this page in a code behind. Yeah, it's really not gonna help too much though. Yeah, Eagle's in agreement. Like left-hand side, put the icons to small. It really frees up your screen real estate. Let's see here. So we need the event handler now. So I need to grab the event handler for on state changed. So we can just see what the example here says. I'm not using the local storage, package. I don't have a reason that I'm using the local storage package. I just didn't implement it yet. Local storage, there's a great one by Chris Santee. We can actually look at that. Maybe there's something I can benefit from by using it. But there wasn't much of an API surface to cover, so I was just using the invoke async methods from the interop. Let's see if it comes up that quick. Yeah, Blazor local storage. Let's look at the docs for it. Let's go to the project site. See if there's anything I can gain by adding this. see, I'm doing some things on these calls. I think I'm gonna end up, might have helped with the setting and getting and clearing of some items last week. I ended up writing a bunch of it myself. Might be something I want to refactor out later. Let's take a look real quick. So if I look at my JavaScript section under theme chooser, not my icon, theme chooser, not used to these big click targets. Yeah, there might be some things I can refactor out, but I'm still going to need my JS interrupt for some other things. So don't know how much time I'll save by doing that. Let's see here. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and install it because the amount of stuff I put in and out of the grid state, there may be some benefit to using what Chris Santi's put together. So let's go ahead and add that. We'll go back and refactor the other stuff out too. So let's go into dependencies, add a NuGet package. Go over to browse here and we'll say Blazor dot local storage. There's some other goodies under there too. He's got some localization stuff. There's a session storage, fluent validation, text editor. He's got a lot of really cool little extensions in there. Uh-oh. Why is this blowing up? Because I have a code error? Latest stable version install. Boy, it just jumps straight to an error page. Let me get this where it can compile. It's odd that it's doing this to me. Let me put this in a comment. That should stop the errors. Let's rebuild there. Sometimes you can get some goofy behavior. There's still an error on the compilation somewhere. Nullable, that's not it. What are you erroring on? Seriously, what is the error here? On state change does not exist in the current context. I renamed it. I took the word handler off. All right. Let's try that again. It should rebuild, which I think might resolve our conflict here. What is this exception? Exception occurred from... Yeah, okay, that tells me nothing. What is this? This is new to me. I get all the warnings. Let's turn those off. Exception occurred. Exception from H result DISPE exception. Yeah, Visual Studio gracefully just took a dump. Let's try that again. Oops, I opened Visual Studio proper. I need my demo one. The one we just fixed for doing presentations. Let's try that again. Let's see if it's a Visual Studio problem. Let the compiler catch up. Let's go ahead and remove that and say manage NuGet packages. Play along. Let's not have a whole thing today with this. Blazor local storage install. And it failed. All right. I don't know what that means. Package manager. Environment set, get property value. End of stack trace. I don't see... I don't see a valid reason why that fails. Let's try this. Try something completely different here. Let's go back to NuGet and we'll copy this. And then we'll go to where is it? Here, let's open file in folder, command line, and we're on the client, add package, local storage. That worked. So it is a Visual Studio thing. So thank you, Visual Studio, for blowing up for no reason. So added it successfully from the command line. So now we should be able to access that. So now we have local storage. If we're going to inject it, then it's probably in my best interest to go to the services collection and add the service as well, or that's not going to pan out well for me. So whenever you add something new, and well, I don't know why that's lit up. Oh, I didn't give it a name. Whenever you inject something, chances are you need to go to startup and you need to add a service for it. The only exception to that rule is going to be HTTP client and other built-in .NET things. Yeah, control tilde is your... That's in Visual Studio Code, I think. Because that doesn't work on my machine. Oh. I think I've overridden that feature somehow to open and toggle between my console. Mitch's Workshop, rated with 13 viewers. Thank you, Mitch's Workshop. Thank you very much. Hey. Thanks for the raid. What all were you covering on Mitch's Workshop? What were you guys talking about? So let's see, where do I want to add this? I want to put it, I'll put it right above my database call here. Builder.services, actually just need services. Am I on the client? I'm on, nope, that was server side. Back up. Abort, wrong startup file. Let's collapse that so we don't accidentally do that again. And configure Telerik Blazor, add some client services, and we'll go ahead and drop it there. It shouldn't matter where it goes. And then we need a control period to add that using statement. Working on learning some Python. Nice. I need to get into some Python sometime. I have to check out your show on Twitch and learn a little bit about that. I've done some Ruby in the past. I heard it's similar in some ways. I guess the syntax is probably similar. We're working on some Blazor right now. We're doing some client-side state management in Blazor, which will involve some local storage, which is why I just added use like a namespace, but is a type. So try that again. Local storage. Yeah, that's actually the namespace, so it shouldn't blow up. and it's still doing it. It is a namespace, but is used. How is it used like a type? Oh, duh. Local storage. Local storage service. Is that right? I should probably just look at the docs and it will tell me. Da, 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 da. Program using Blazor. Yeah. Oh, IA local storage service. Yeah, an interface would be better, wouldn't it? Get that interface in there. So now we have our local storage service. And I'm going to cut this out too. I don't want to have to write that everywhere I go. I'm going to drop down to my imports file and just pop it in there. So we'll do using local storage. And then now we give that a second or two. It should resolve itself, and it did. I'm going to remove this comment. In future versions of this, I have those comments removed. Go ahead and take it out here as well. We're going to work on something interesting next week where we take some markdown files and parse those out and put them in a document viewer. So we're taking comments out of this that don't apply to the code itself. So now on state changed, I should be able to make this call. So I should be able to say await local storage, set item, unique storage key is going to be whatever I want here. And we'll call this, let's see here. We'll elevate that to a field here. Actually, we can just keep it right in state management and say string storage key equals sales Blazing Coffee sales grid. This is just an identifier. It doesn't matter what we really call that. We can call it anything we want. If we look at the actual like method that's calling this, this is what it would look like. So this storage key looks like what's happening in this theme chooser, where we're saying window.localStorage, our setting key, and then the value gets passed into that settings key. No tests? I know, right, Eagle? I should totally be doing unit testing. I'm moving fast and loose on this project. I haven't got to the unit test thing yet. It's on my to-do list. I know it should have been first on my to-do list, not last. But I just haven't done it. Haven't done it. Guilty as charged. B unit is very awesome. What I would probably do with unit testing in this is start on some of the components that I built. I actually need to do it on one that I built behind the scenes here. I'll get into that in a minute. I refactored like a ton of stuff out by hijacking something out of the proper .NET framework and reutilizing it for my own needs. I should probably unit test that since I borrowed code and changed it. It does not have, I think the API is different. I'm not sure. Set item async. The example we give, I don't know whose local storage we're using. It just says local storage. Microsoft JS. Oh, we wrote our own. We have our own local storage interop that we wrote for that one. I'm going to use one that's already available on NuGet for me instead. So we'll set up our storage key. We'll stash the grid state. So we saved our grid state. Now we need to retrieve our grid state. And I think that is in our on init event. On initialized read items. It's in my custom filtering. On state init. And in here I have args, grid state, filter descriptors, add and end. Start and end. So these are setting up some custom filtering, which I'm happy with losing temporarily while we get this feature working, then we'll turn it back on. So I'm going to take out my custom filter real quick, and let's go back, because I need to figure out where that order of operations occurs to understand if I need to set those custom filters before or after I load the state. I think it's going to be after. So on init, when I initialize, actually it's going to be in place of, okay. On state changed handler, I save my state. I can reset my state, reload the page. I can create an item, delete an item. Where's the on init? Oh, there it is, on init. So I'm going to try and catch in here. Let's see. We will read through the comments as we put this in. We're going to try, and we're going to say state equals local storage, get item. We're going to get the grid state using the key, and if it comes back as not null, then we will apply that state. If it is an exception, JS interop for local storage can't be used during pre-rendering, so the code above will throw an exception once the app initializes, but then it will work fine. I wonder if Chris has solved that problem in his interop, and it does it gracefully. We'll have to check that out too. I may end up asking him on that. I want to say yes, just because I know Chris is thorough, and this is demo stuff that we have in our documentation. Let's see, unique storage key I put down here. So let me actually move. I'm going to change this. This is, while it does deal with custom filters, it deals more with the state management. So I'm going to move it to my state management section. And then I will use the storage key here. And we will await that. And why do I have underscores? Wait operator. Oh, this is going to be, that's interesting. I didn't have, I guess I wasn't awaiting anything before, so this is perfectly normal. Async void. You don't see that very often. Async void. I wonder if I should just make this task, just so it plays nicer. This one too. Just to follow some more best practices there. Non-generic method cannot be used with a type argument. This is because of get item is string async. Oh. Get item async is what I needed. And then it is of grid state of sales. Did I do that right? Grid state event args actually is what gets saved to the grid state storage, I think. Whoa, went full Cyrillic there for a second. Somehow I switched languages on my keyboard. Yeah, we're gonna, oh, nope, it is the grid state, not the grid state event args. I did have that backwards. All right, so the grid state gets saved in the state, and then, why is this not happy? Cannot implicitly convert type. Teller Blazor components grid state to Teller Blazor component grid state of, oh, there's, this should be sale, not sales. There we go. Naming things is hard. All right, So what this does, when the grid initializes, it will call the on state init event, and it's going to say try to get the state from local storage. If for some reason you can't, then fail gracefully. And then we may need to apply some filters depending on what this is. So this is actually going to tie heavily into the filter scenario here, because we're probably going to have to set these. So if we look at the page overall, it's more than just a grid. So let's save that. We'll run it. We may run into some weird behaviors because there's some things that aren't being considered here. So if I look at sales, so far no errors that I can tell. Console, nothing bad happening in here. But what I need to do is when I change this value here, I should be hitting that state changed event. Not state has changed, but the grid state changed event. Event handler, and it is going to save it into local storage. If we look at application, there's our grid state. So now if I go home and I come back, it didn't work. Something didn't apply correctly, and it may be that code that I removed. Because see, I'm saving the grid state, but I didn't save my date range picker state. So I may need to add that. Because that filter is happening outside of the data grid. So what I've got here, the grid has filters embedded in it. So some of this is probably working. I know that sounds terrible. Some of this is probably working. Yeah, I just heard myself say that. Let's actually do something here. So if I filter this to donut, let me get some donuts in here. Sounds good right about now. I haven't had lunch yet. Donut. And then I go home and I come back. Are we still filtering on donut? We are. So the grid state is persisting. However, the grid state is persisting, but the date range is not. So the date range is not actually part of the grid. Even though the filtering happens on the grid, it's being applied manually outside of the grid state. So I need to take care of that now. And that's the code I commented out. Was that there? So when my grid initializes, I'm applying these custom filters that are set here. What I really need to do is check on my grid state or my storage here as well. I've got a storage key for the grid. I'm going to make another storage key. And I'm going to call this one. I wonder if I can put them together or if I need to separate them. So I have two dates that I want to store. I have a start date and an end date. Let's start with separating them. So the start and end dates need to be stored as well. Call that start date key, and we'll call this one end date key. And I need to store those two things. I may be able to do this all in one object type if I really want to do that. I could probably create a new object type that has the view state for this page and stash all of the data in that. We'll look at that next. That might be something that's doable. We'll start easy. We'll refactor stuff out, right? We need to apply these filters, but we need to set them up first. So on state init, I'm trying to think here. We may actually want to do this in, yeah, let's actually move this to on initialize, because do I have an on init? On initialized async, I get chart data. The defaults are set here. The problem with that is I need to set them from local storage instead. If there's not local storage set, I could default to that, and that is fine. So let's try this, and we'll say on initialize async. Actually, these keys are probably being, well, that one's used twice to save and load. I'm gonna have to save and load these twice as well. Let's elevate these back to the top. I may take that region out. Starting to regret it already. Those cross too many concerns to be where they're at. We'll move those up. So what I need to do is on initialized async, I need to call my grids or my date and time values in here and set those up properly. So under on initialized async, before I get my chart data, I need to say start value equals, let's see, I'm doing 2 years out. Let's go ahead and just put this here as boilerplate code and value. This is what it actually initializes to every single time. Is my default is the start and end are 2 years ago to now. Thanks for following. What a Mel. Hope I got that right. Thanks for the follow. Much appreciated. And now what I need to do is say, I need another try catch like this. I may be able to put it in the grid init, not sure yet. I'm going to put it here for now. But what I need to do is I need to do this twice. I need to get my date from the start date key, like that, and then I need to set start value to that state. I could actually do this in one call. No, because I need to do the null check. Need to do the null check. What I need is a try, not a try, what is it called? Yeah, I guess it is try. I could do this in a try that you see with like a dictionary, like a try get. Let's see, start. Call it start state for now. So we'll do that check. And then If we can't catch it, or if we can't get it, we'll go ahead and we'll just set a start value. And then we need to copy this and do it again. And we need the end state. Again, I might mash these all into one type and just do it that way in a moment. I just want to make sure this all works first. So we'll try those, we'll set those. This needs to be end. That's why you don't copy code, because you can run into errors like that. We'll set that one, and then we'll add that here. So if it fails, it still goes back to the default. So we're going to try those two things. Then we'll get the chart data. Then if we go down here, this probably doesn't need to change anymore, because this is pointing to a read-only method that, or a read-only property that pulls those values out that I just set. So that can probably stay, and it needs to stay in that event. So we'll set that there for now. There's some serious refactoring I can see already coming out of this. On state changed. When we change the values of those the start and end value changed, we need to save that state. So these are going to end up being async task, and then inside of them, let's see, I don't need that console log. What I do need is to say, oops, not grid, state, what is it called? Local storage. Local storage dot set item async. It's going to be a date time, and the key is start date value, or no, start key. If I say key, it'll come up. Start key, start date key, and the value is start date value. So I need to stash the local storage here. And why is it not happy? Oh, this is a nullable date time. So that's going to catch me in my init as well, I bet. Now lets me set it. It's a nullable date time. Maybe I should fix that too. There we go. I need to await that properly. So I'm going to wait the start date, and then I need to set my end date as well. Let's see. Entity Adams asking, Ed, I got a question, just a high level. How would you handle background sync with Blazor in a PWA app? Background syncing. Yeah, Curious Drive has a good suggestion. The Car Checker app by Steve Sanderson may have that. I'm not sure how he's doing it. There's a couple ways you could do that. Let's see. Oops. Car Checker. Steve Sanderson. I know you can use Signal R now as well, but if it's a PWA, you may need to have a worker service registered. So check out Steve's app. Oh, Curious Drive's way ahead of me. He's already got that linked up there. Good job. Thank you for that. There's some PWA stuff in there. check his client side. wroot. Service workers. That one's empty. Vehicle store. I'm not too familiar with this. I don't know exactly where to look. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I was going the route of using IndexedDB for local storage. And for remote persistence, I'm using Azure Functions. That should be fine, actually. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I just don't know about the background routines. I know with service workers, you can do some stuff. Yeah, I think you're going to use some JavaScript interop on that. But it doesn't sound like it's overly difficult to implement. So we've got our start and our end values. Those are going to go into storage. So all the filtering is set up. I don't think there's any code changes. I put those commented bits back. Let's try this again. Let's reload that. I think I got everything in place. And then we can refactor some stuff out. Ah, yes, it'd be in the published. There's an empty service worker for development, I believe, to make things in the dev cycle go quicker. So I'm still filtering on Bagel, it looks like. For some reason, my filter icon didn't light up. It's kind of odd. If I do this date range, so I've got 1/1 through 4/1, 2019. Let's check that. Go back to sales, 1/1 through 4/1, 2019. Still filtering bagels, and my chart lines up. So my filters for the date are properly applied. The next thing we need to do is figure out how to clear this page out. Yeah, good job there on answering Entity Adam's question, Curious Drive. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. That was excellent advice. I need. Let's try to narrow these down to a single item. This one thing I like about Blazor is the ability to store your files in an intelligent way. And what I want to do, man, just click on a service worker in this. I forgot this was a PWA. It has a service worker as well, but it's got the null empty one. What I want to do is I want to say I've got sales report and it has 2 views in it, but I also want to add a custom object here. We'll call it class, and we'll say I don't want to word this. Sales view state .cs. So we'll put this in we'll call this a view state, and it is going to have let's see, we have the start date. So I may end up with an MVVM pattern after all this. So what I want is a start date. Oops, date time. Prop date time. Start date. This actually needs to be a nullable date time. I believe that's because that's what the date range picker works with, because it can have nulls. End date, and then public grid state of t. The problem with that grid state is, oh no, that's not a problem. It'd be sale. Grid state of sale. So I need my using statement in here, like that. And then I need a using statement for sale as well. And then we'll set those up with properties. This is going to be grid state. We already know it's state. Because this is the sales view state object. So I have sales view state, date, start date, end date, grid. Then what we can do is, since we have an object, pages sales report. Wonder if the namespace is good on that, if it's going to try to get me to import it. Local storage. Instead of having all these keys, let's just call it, we'll keep storage key. What I'm trying to do is wind down the amount of code we have here. I should be able to delete that now. We could say Blazing Coffee Grid Sales. I'm going to take the word grid off. And then, let's see if we can do this all in one go. Not sure if we can, though. Instead of doing a try catch around all of that, there and there, I wonder if I can put it. What we'll do is we'll comment this out. I'll put one of them back, actually. Let's see. I think it'll be beneficial to do this. I'm not sure yet. Get item async. Instead of getting a date time, we are going to get the sales view state. And this is key data key. Storage key. And then instead of setting start value, we will say, we'll call it state. We may be able to consolidate these all into one call. We'll see in a moment. Let's do this for now. State is null. Let's do start date is null. Is not null. Then the start value will be state dot start date, like that. Let's try that, and then if we have that, let's take this out of the catch. And then if we did that, we can also consolidate this, I think, and say grid state equals null, then no, I can't do a ternary there. It needs to be, yeah, I can. Start value equals grid state equals null. If it isn't null, then the value is the start date. I don't know why I put that on a new line. If it's not, we'll default it like that. And there goes all the red squiggles, so we know we're doing a good job. Did I lose anybody when I did that? Eagle says, I do think your comment text is a little hard to read. I know, I did it on purpose. That's just the way I am. I I haven't had any complaints on the repo of that theme, but this, I know this is hard to read, especially on stream. What I normally like to do here is if it's something that belongs, I usually throw it in the triple quotes because those usually do something important. It's something worth looking into changing, though. My initial thought was best practices say try not to do stupid comments. So I kind of took the focus off of them. Maybe that was a little hasty. I can admit that. I can admit that because that part is a little hard to read. Although when it's on your own monitor, it's not that bad. When it's on the stream, it probably is just illegible. Sorry about that. Maybe for the stream, I should change it. What you can do is you can just go into this here, and I can't remember the exact one here. Maybe it is comment. Let's see here. Call return. Comment. There it is. We can lighten that up a bit. For the stream. This is I can have my preferences on my coding environment, but we'll make that better for the stream. So there you go. You guys, boy, that color is ugly. I'm sorry, I can't deal with that. I can still make it lighter, but I just can't do the green. That's distracting. That's just heinous. I can't do it. My inner designer's like, don't do it. I know this just lime is just hideous. Let's see here. Let's grab this color. I like this color. I'm a stickler today. What can I say? Let's do computed. Didn't give me the computed color? Really? There it is. RGB. Giselle. There we go. Like that minty green. Really? And then this one's not going to be... This is... Oh my gosh. When can we get Windows to stop doing this HSL color format and just give me the darn hex values in here? I hate that. You know what? Let's see. RGB, we can do RGB 90, 191, 144. Yeah, all that for a color. I know I'm a pain. I'm a pain. Not scared to admit it. Right. This is all. This is going to be end value. So let's again. This is going to be, since it's all in that, we don't need the try again. We can do that and say end value. State dot end date. And so on. End date. And this was just date time now without subtracting years from it. And then we can remove this giant try catch from there, because the state's all in one object here. And then we do the same thing in changed handler. Ooh. All right, I need to move. I see a problem. I see a big problem. Putting these all in one bucket changes a bit about how we save them, because we need to save them all together now. And initially, they were all separate. So when we save them separately, we didn't save them all at the same time. The start date and end date generally run together. And I see another error on my part, I think. I don't want to save state when I change the start date, because no event actually triggers when I save the start date. So if we look at this, so wow, I made a couple mistakes here. If I select a start date, I don't want to persist that to state, because I haven't selected an end date and the grid doesn't update, or neither does the chart. Nothing actually happens till I complete that operation. And oh, there it goes. There was a little bit of lag for some reason. Nothing actually happens till I complete the operation. So I can remove that code from the start date handler. This can go back to being void, because nothing actually happens there. And ironically, my comments reminded me of that. Sorry. I know. I'm a bad person. Let's see. So my comments told me to not do anything because the final parameter hasn't changed yet, therefore the model hasn't really updated. Then on the end date, it can be a task, and I need to save my date and time together. So my date time, I can say local storage, set item, but I also would need my grid state, which I have. I actually have that here. So let's see. I wonder if I can pull the date out of the filter descriptor on the grid. We'll look at that next. I may be able to wipe even more of this out. So local storage, set item async. Let's do, I may actually get rid of this custom type in a minute. Sales, view state, and then we're going to put in the state, so storage key, and the we don't have an object, so we need to set one. So this is interesting. Let's back up for a minute. This might actually be unnecessary, because when I set my end date, I go to the grid and I say, hey grid, get me your state, clear any filters out for the date, add these filters for the date, set the state. So now the grid is aware of the filter state. So I do have it there. So if I'm only saving the state here, state, and then let me take this and call it grid state again of sale. Yeah, I don't need this sales view state. Delete. That was just over engineering on my part. I don't need it. I'm gonna save the grid state fully here. And then once I have the grid state saved, when I pull the grid state back out, that's where things go awry. So instead of calling this sales view state, I'll call it grid state. Pull it out of the storage key. grid state of T. Pull it out of the storage key. And then the end date is going to be state dot filter descriptors dot. This is the tricky part. So the grid stores all of its filter data in a filter descriptor. And there's going to be one like this with an operator of that. And I have a way to query those out with link. So what I need to do is say state filter descriptors where. I wonder if I can do where. I wonder if I can do find. There should only be one. Let's try find first. Filter descriptors. Move that down for a second. Sorry, I just missed some of the comments here. So the difference between find and where is kind of like this. If we look at a grid, if I filter by product, and I say where, it's kind of like filtering like this, where I can say filter where the item is equal to donut. I'm expecting more than one result back from that filter. If this is a unique field where I only have a unique identifier, say an ID number, and I say where the ID is 1, and I only expect to get one item back, that's a find because it's only finding that unique item. It's not getting a collection back. So if I say filter descriptors find, or sorry, first. I meant first, my bad. First, because I only expect to get one back. Oh, I don't expect to get, well, yeah, I do in this case. So first, sorry, find may be the JavaScript equivalent. Or is find the entity there's an equivalent somewhere. Is it EF? That's find. Link. Find. Yeah, there is a find. My bad. So find is the let's see. Find is when you have I still may be thinking JavaScript terms here. What I meant was first. I meant first. There is a find, but it's not in line with what I just told you. This isn't the same. You can use find, I believe, on Entity Framework to get the unique item from a database. I'm not getting a find on this collection because it's an IEnumerable, not an IQueryable. I want first. And then on first, because an IEnumerable has no unique identifier to it, whereas a DB set does have a unique identifier. Are you putting all the parameters in filter criteria? Yes. So all the parameters end up in the same state, the grid state. The grid state gets sent to the server, and that's where all the parameters get passed to the API. I can show you that in a minute. This might make sense after I get done rambling here. So I want the first item, we'll call it state, or state, or sorry, these are filters. Sorry, filters. Let's call it F, filter descriptor. IntelliSense gave up on me. IntelliSense is like, you're just a pain. I give up. Where my first filter, come on, filter dot. Hang on, let's let the compiler catch up with my madness. First, where filter equals, there we go. Why is that not letting me search properly? Where, oh, I gotta cast it. I have to cast it because this is an IEnumerable of filter descriptor base, and there are other. So this is kind of complex. This is a collection of filter descriptor base. This is using a what is this called? The name of it is escaping me. There's multiple types being stored in this one. Is it polymorphism? No, that's not the right word. I can't remember the terminology for this. Why? Having a little bit of brain fuzz. So I need to cast it because there are different types of filter descriptors. They are all stored in here as the base. Is polymorphism the right word? Is that what I'm thinking? Anyhow, my computer sciencey stuff is escaping me for the moment. But if I don't cast it, I don't get all the properties because I just have the base type. I know I have filter descriptors in here, so I can cast them as filter descriptor, and then I can say if it has if it has a filter descriptor with a member of transaction date and an is greater than, that is my start value. And if that filter descriptor dot member equals transaction date, that's the field I'm searching for. This is all because of my custom filtering code. So, oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Chad, welcome. Welcome to the show. Chad, I know you can help me with this. It's going to kill me. What is it called when you have a collection of, say, fruit, and in that collection you have a type of banana and a type of apple and a type of orange, but they're all a type of fruit? What the heck? Why is that escaping me right now? Is that polymorphism? Is that the right terminology? Did I say that wrong? Chad, you should know. This is like probably an interview question or something. And no, it's not. So it's inheritance, but there's a name for the fact that all apple, orange. Okay, polymorphism is the right word. They all inherit from the same base, but that collection has multiple items that have inherited, which is the polymorphic part. So filter descriptor member equals transaction date. And this is a big query. I don't like that. I wish there's a simpler way to write this. I bet there is. I need to move the as part up. I wonder if I can declare a var here. Where the member and the member type equals, sorry, this is huge. Member filter descriptor. Blah, this is ugly. I know it's in here written out already. Filter descriptor, transaction date, and that's why I put these like this. Filter descriptor greater than. If I can find, I know this is long-winded. If I can find this in my grid state, I can pull it out. So if I have an item that matches transaction date and the member type, why is it not like that? Filter operator. Oops. I have the wrong property. Operator. It has to be the greater than operator, because that's the one that has the date in it. And it's still yelling at me for some reason. This is that jump the shark moment, I think. Let's get this arrow. Move it here for a moment. All right. What doesn't it like about that statement? What's not to like about that statement? That's a beautiful statement. It's terrible. It's too much. Let's see. Cannot convert to date time. Of course not. Of course not. Because it doesn't have a date time. So get type. Create filter expression. I want the value. Why can I not get the value from my filter descriptor? I have a filter descriptor. Oh, same problem. Jeez, I gotta cast this again. I gotta cast it again? Do I really have to cast that again? As filter descriptor, because it's coming back as the base item again. Holy moly. Yep. Then start value. This is too much. There's got to be an easier way. Value. Yes. Oh, man. There has... Oh, now I got to write underscore again. Gets or sets the target value. Cannot convert object to system date time. So this is an object, so I have to cast that again. Holy crap. I need to parse it, or do I just convert? Straight up convert. I can't remember. Let's try direct conversion. Like that. It's gonna let me do that. It does. Yeah, I could do that. I could do good suggestion there, Krisick. This would be, is it as? No, not as. I've got this somewhere else, actually. Let's take a look at the controller section, sales controller, of type. Let's see if I can do an of type on that. Let's see if I can smack it down with that. Of type. Valid in the given context. I'm missing the parens. Boop boop. And then if I do of type there, I should be able to knock off all of these. Thank you, Kursic. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks, John. Yeah, it does. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Oh, wait, what's it doing? Oh, helps if I keep the variable name in there. F dot F dot. That shortens it up quite a bit. Good old of type. I think we're on the same page. That was the same thing. You said cast. That's the same idea, I think, of type. Filters based on a specified type. May not be the same thing, actually. That's a filter, whereas the other's actually casting, which is what I was doing. I don't know if I can do that. I'll have to test this out and find out if that actually worked. those two are not the same. So of type filter. I don't know if I want to breakpoint yet, but I may need to break. So this is either going to be cast. All right, I'm going to put it as cast as you suggested, John. I think that's more appropriate in this scenario. But I can also try the other one in a moment as well, because they actually might do the same thing in this scenario. Because I think they're all filter descriptors. If it can't cast, it's going to fail. So, no. I do want of type. Because it should be... That's the thing. If it's not an actual filter descriptor, will it work? I mean, it is, but its initial type is a base. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. So if I can get that, I can set the start date. I need to do another one. This is the start filter. And then if I have the start filter, I can get the end filter by doing the same thing, except my end filter is going to be the operator that is less than. The only reason I can use first in this scenario too, and I know that these two are it, is because I'm actually limiting this through my own custom code that says I can only have two date filters on that which usually only makes sense on dates anyway, but I have a start and end date on this. Which these filter descriptors, the reason they're so complex is because they cover everything in here. So I can set it to, like, this donut is a filter descriptor, but it is a filter descriptor with a member of product and a value of donut and a operator of equal to. So it does not fit my link query. You can have many of these because I could say is equal to donut, or wait, I could say contains donut or contains, what else was in here? Gift card. And I could go so many of these. This page is broken, I think, but you get the idea. I can have many filter descriptors. Oh, there it goes. There's a bit of lag for some reason. So now I have two filter descriptors for product, and I could keep adding these. Don't have a UI for it here, but essentially I could add an infinite number of these. So this only works for my date time because this is the way I have my date set up. I have... Oh yeah, I meant to answer that for you. These get passed to the API. If we look at our sales controller, this data source request is it's the grid state. It's the same thing under a different name. Same thing under a different name because it not only contains the grid state, but it contains some other values from the request as well. I can't remember everything that's in there. It has things like the paging, sorting, filtering, all of that gets passed through that data source request. Then it gets passed to Entity Framework. And any framework then can digest this through the extension method that we provided, and it will create the proper SQL. Yes, it's exactly what's happening, John, is this method converts our grid state to an expression tree, which then Entity Framework converts to SQL code. And when I get this up and running again, I'll actually show you how it does that. Well, not exactly how it does it, but I can show you the effects of that. So we have our filter descriptors, we have our start, we have our end now. So we have our start and our end. On initialize async gets those out of the grid state if there is one. Now, let's see, are there any errors? No other errors. Local storage saves the grid state. I'm going to pull the grid state out again here. This I don't believe changes at all. I'm setting that filter criteria elsewhere, so I don't need to worry about changing that code. I think I can build this now. And cross my fingers if I did all that right. Those filter descriptors are tricky. I don't know if I did that all right. We'll see. Sales. Oh, oof, something blew up. Inspect. What did we get in the console? We've got object is not set. There's a null ref exception in here. I think I might know what it is actually. Let's do a little quick inspection here. I'm gonna clear these state items out of here. So there was some lingering stuff. There might have been a serialization issue. Nope. Still getting a problem. Console. All right. So there's a null reference exception somewhere in here. And it's not telling me exactly where though. Oops. This is a bug. End date. So if I have no state saved, that's part of the problem. Try catch. So if I took my if statement out, if state is not null, then we'll set these up like that. Else we will set them to defaults. Which are they still? They're already set to defaults there. Don't know if I need the else. They already have a default state. We'll go ahead and leave that alone. If, let's see, something about my state object is null indeed. For React, I built a parser, but with Blazor, it'd be nice to stay within the object. So if you have .NET and I don't want to speak out of turn here. I might be wrong. If you have .NET on the back end and you're using Kendo UI on the front, I don't know about the React product, but it is possible that it's there. I'll have to check with our engineers on that. But data grid, data operations, OData. Oh, so with OData, we do have it. So if you're using OData with Kendo UI for React, you can do the same thing, I believe. But I think it only works with OData. But if there was interest, we could add. See, we have filter descriptors that are the same in React as well. Whether you can serialize those filter descriptors in .NET, I don't know. But it's a possibility that you could do it with React. If you have Kendo React on the front, and you might have to own several products to do it, but it's possible that if you requested it, we might be able to add it if you were a Kendo React customer. Just out of curiosity's sake, I would say that that's a thing. Let's see here. So this should all work now that I put the null check in there. I hope. Fingers crossed. Tab bankruptcy. Sales. And page loaded. That's a good sign. Now there should be state. Let's check and see if there's state. Console. No. Application. Sales. There's state. State is there. So if I change this from that date to that date, then I saw my state update. I haven't seen any errors yet. So I went from 5.1 to 8.1, 2019. Let's go back. It worked. It worked. It worked. I'm saving my custom filters. I'm saving it all in that one grid state item. So I didn't need all those additional values. So I started a little long, ended it a little short. So refactored some code. This is still a bit of a mouthful here. I wonder if there's something I could do to simplify this some more. Filter descriptor of type filter descriptor first. Of transaction date is greater than. Trying to think here. I got a crazy idea I think will work. I could refactor this out into a function, I believe. I don't know if, let's try something. So if I had a func of I don't even know if I need, well, let's see. Filter descriptor. Let me try this. Function that returns a filter descriptor is going to be, let's see, get filter, and then get filter No, I don't want it to be a filter. I want it to be an enumerable of filter descriptor. Transaction filters is going to return it does need to be a func. Let's see. Func of I'm just brainstorming here. I might be able to do something crazy. If I have a func of state, grid state, a grid state of sale that returns an enumerable of filter descriptor. Then I can call that transaction filters and it needs, hang on, this, I did something else wrong. This would actually have to be external to the assembly here. It's just a test. Just see if I can do something to eliminate some code. Going the extra mile here. Hang on one second. It can't be a local function because what I actually need is an extension method. And I don't think you can do extension methods in a static. Well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. I don't think you can. It's probably going to bark at me. This is going to be a public static func of grid state of sale that returns an enumerable of filter descriptor The name doesn't really matter at this point yet. Of transaction date filter. That is a this of yeah, it doesn't even know the this keyword in this context. Yeah, they have to be static classes. Let me copy that out. Yeah, it's not seeing that at all. I don't know if this is worth keeping in here. I just want to see if I can do it for the sake of doing it. Let's call it sales extension. Just for the sake of doing this. Static class. Sales extensions. Public static func. How many times can I misspell static? If I have a grid state of sale and I have a filter descriptor, then I have a this of grid state. Why did it do that? This. Yeah, grid state of sale. Grid state. All right. So I've got the signature. I'm going to pipe this into an arrow. Let's put, this is really niche stuff here I'm doing. I think anyway. Let's do a horizontal tab. Let's move that out of the way because I want to be able to see my filter descriptor code here. And I want to say grid state dot filter descriptors dot of type filter descriptor this is very specific code to this file, so it wouldn't help. I mean, I could make it generic, but then so this is what I'm doing is kind of weird. I'm trying to give some sort of intent to this long-winded link filter. When I do this, I'm actually taking the link library and I'm narrowing it down to doing something very specific. And then if I were to take it and make an abstraction upon it to make it more generic, what ends up happening is I go full circle and I come back to creating a link again. So don't get this too, this isn't necessarily a best practice or anything. I'm trying to see if I can do a little exercise here where I refactor this down to just a simple statement. But I don't know, it's kind of a code preference, I guess you might say. Let's see, of type filter descriptor parens dot first f equals f dot transaction, or no, f dot member equals transaction date. Oh, sorry. I don't want where. I want where, because I'm going to get 2 now instead of just the 1. I think this will work better if I just get the whole collection of transaction date filters. And then, what is it yelling at me for? Let's see what the error is here. Cannot implicitly convert type. IEnumerable of filter descriptor. Did I do that wrong? My call's wrong, or my thing here is wrong. This doesn't need to be there. I don't need to specify that up front. It doesn't need to be a func. I was thinking inside the parameter, not as an extension method. And then I shorten that up. Grid of type. It's a little overkill maybe. Now I can go over here and say, transaction filter descriptors. That's where I need. That's where I need the thing. This is no, that should be fine. Filter descriptors dot first. Missing parentheses. Boom. There we go. So I can take off the type of, and I could take off the first set of that. Yeah, I didn't need the func. I was thinking something else entirely. So I'll explain where my thought pattern was anyway. So I wrote an extension method. What I could also have done is inside of this, you can do a func of, let's see, this is going to be a func of filter descriptor. I could have done a predicate there. So I can show you that for just the purpose of interest. But that actually will work for this. So I just condensed this down a little bit. Don't know how helpful that is. I guess you guys decide. Is that more implicit than what I had before? Took a little repetitive code out. So I've just created a custom filter that gets transaction dates. So that takes care of all that boilerplate that was around it. Just makes it a little easier to read, I think. So I can say state.transaction filters give me the greater than, transaction filters give me less than. With the func, what I was thinking is you can do something like this. You can do a func of filter descriptor that takes a filter descriptor, returns true, false. And I could say this isn't going to help me in any way. I'm just showing you what I could have, where my initial thinking was and where I came up with the func idea. Could say greater than, and then it does a, no, I don't even need the thing there. Right, greater than, func of C of bool greater than, and then I've got f is equals f lambda f operator dot, I'm sorry, is equal to filter operator dot is greater than. I could have refactored it similar to this. Missing a, have a parenthesis, it doesn't belong. I could have refactored it in a similar way like that, and then you can just call greater than, like that. Does that make sense? It's just an abstraction of that operator. It would have been more information though. I would have included the other portion of it in there. So it would have been like it was before, f dot member equals this and also that. That would have narrowed it down a little bit. I can. You can make the extension method. The thing is, I don't need to because of this. So what I could do is see where it says first here. Let's go back. You could do that. If I go back to sales extension. So what we can do here is we can say func of filter descriptor of filter descriptor bool, and we'll call this selector. That is actually a common terminology, and we could say where filter descriptor dot first dot selector. And it's blowing up. Why? Because this is no longer an enumerable. This is going to be a single value, like that. So we can do this if you want to do it that way, which is perfectly fine. And we could take this filter statement, take that out. We'll take the lambda with us. We'll remove that section of code because it really didn't do anything important. We can remove the first statement out of it. Do you like that? Is that better? So now we can say state.transaction filters give me the greater than and the less than. And we've made our own extension method that takes a predicate. Actually, that should be predicate, not selector. Predicate. Selector is if you're going to do multiple and return IEnumerable. Predicate is if you're returning true false. So, opinion on that, anybody? We went in, we dove into some functional programming at the end here, so I will not apologize. Sorry, not sorry. Did some functional programming on the show in C#. So now we have a nice curried function, I guess you call it. And that'll work. That does the same thing. Our custom extension method does anyhow. And there's our persisted state. We do need a way to clear that state, by the way. We haven't... Ooh, something blew up here. Something broke. All right. I said it was going to work, and then now there's something broken in here. This may be where it's compounding two filters on top of each other. So what I need to do is I need to look in here and see if it's not getting cleared properly. I like that approach myself. Some people don't like it. Let's see here. There's something awry with this, though. If I look under transaction date filters, under filter descriptors, I still only have 2. I was worried there were multiple. Why is that not loading state correctly? Yeah, something did break. Oh, wow. Okay. So not only did that break, but it looks like the null ref is back. The null ref check broke for some reason. Oh, I know part of it is this. The null ref, I can't do a first if there's no data. So it's best to put that inside the null check. Let's try that. Let's see if our defaults load. All right, the defaults load. Now let's try this. Let's go August through November. That worked. Let's do a second filter. There's an issue, not in... Okay, that worked. January through December. I don't know what happened to earlier. It like totally stopped filtering anything. Let's try dates after. Oh, see, something's wrong. Something is very wrong. That looks correct. I've got January. January through December. No, it's working okay. I'll have to play around with this. Something went nuts earlier, and I'm not too happy with the idea that something broke. It looked like multiple filters might have been getting pulled in. Even though the behaviors right now are telling me otherwise. Oh, no records. That's because there's no 2020 records, I think. But why is the chart still rendering is what I'm wondering. Let's go back to 2019. There we go. Oh, wow. No, wait. I thought there was double data. Is there? There is double data. What the heck is going on? Yikes. I broke something bad. There's double data being sent to the chart for some reason. That is really weird. It's only in a certain part of the data set, maybe. Something has gone crazy in the state management, maybe. I don't... Nope, it was the chart. Something with the chart syncing up went out of control. I don't know if I can even reproduce that. It's 3 months. Go back 3 months. Do 3 months again. Do 3 months again. It did it when I went and I jumped years. Let's go to 2018. Let's do 3 months. Let's do 12 months. It's not doing it again. That was odd. It looked like the chart component decided it was going to keep some data around. Maybe it was a state has changed call. So let's try that. There was an error before it happened when I selected no data. Not an error, but it didn't update the chart to reflect that there's no data. Then if we go back, I just reproduced it. I did it. So here's the error. I'm gonna log this one because it's so weird. GitHub, Blazing Coffee, issues, new issue. Immediately, I'm gonna assign this to me. Label bug. So when I'm on the sales page, when dates, ranges produce no results, then a new date range is selected. Then the chart data displayed is corrupt. So when I select, let's refresh this, it fixes itself when I refresh the page, which is odd. If I select a null date, like null data date range, and then I select a valid date range. I mean, it's not invalid date range, but there's just no data there. If I select a date range that has data, I get weird results in the chart. And what I need to do is I need to see what happens. I'm not gonna do this right now. I'm running out of time today. But if I select, you know what it is? It's just 2020. If anything has 2020, then it's just gonna break. No, seriously. If it has no records available, I need to see what exactly it's trying to sync with the grid, which should be an empty set of sales. It shouldn't be null. It should just have no records. But then once I go back and repopulate the data, so the sales data chart syncs up with the exact same data set. No, it doesn't. It queries that data set. Yeah, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot this on the next show, hopefully. I need to see what requests are being sent to the server at this time, and then I need to see what the subsequent requests are going to the server. And yeah, Curious Drive has it. If date is 2020, then skip it. Skip it. Now I need to see what the HTTP requests are going back and forth. See if it's getting the proper date. I need to narrow down, is it my request? Is it my data chart? Is it the data I'm giving the chart on the client? Is it internal in the chart? What's happening here? I really don't know. This one is bizarre. I haven't seen this one yet, but there's some real erroneous grouping, I think, happening based on the first filter failing to produce any data. But when you okay, that's on the no records. That's proper. If I go back to 2019, that worked okay. It's something when you navigate into that data set that's empty and back. Very interesting. But we do have persistence now. And which is kind of strange. I expected there to be a when I started this app, I expected there to be an overall state object, and so far haven't needed one. I've been able to do it with this local storage stuff. So I've got these separate instances of local storage for several things, which seems to be okay right now. I'm going to consolidate those down possibly to to remove some of the JavaScript code in here. I don't believe this one at all. I think I can remove this JavaScript file completely, which would be great. And then I could partially refactor my theme chooser where I'm doing the get and set theme. That would actually remove that completely, I think. I still actually, I don't know if I need it for that or not. I might need it there. Because this happens before the Blazor application actually loads, then the interop might be, or the interop might be too late to the party. So I may keep it there on the theme chooser. But I could remove the other one. And then that's something I need to do, and I still haven't gotten into. We got a little bit down a rabbit hole. I still want to persist my drawer component. And I also want in my settings to pick up a per page settings profile and be able to clear the state of this page somehow. Or on the page it needs a clear button, because what if I want to reset? What if I want to reset that page to the way it was? Submit a new issue. go. And there was a question earlier, am I working on this with anybody else? Not really. There was a community suggestion, not so much a contribution. I know it was a contribution. They didn't submit a pull request, but they did submit code that fixed an issue. So other than that, I haven't had any help with the app. It is a fork of a style that we had, but I changed it quite a bit. So this has kind of been my thing to build. I think I'll keep this extension method in here too. I like it. It gives intent to my code. I can just say, give me my transaction filters where there is a greater than and a less than, and that works fine. So a lot of this looks good to me so far. I might clean it up a little bit next show. We'll see. We shall see. I'm going to go ahead and do a raid now. I've got some stuff to get to in the next few minutes here, so we need to end the show. It's been a lot of fun, though. Let's see who's out there to raid. Pick a live channel. Nobody's live. Why is there nobody live? Where's all my friends at? Thank you, John. Was it? John? Thank you very much for joining me on the show this week again. Who is out there doing coding? Why none of these showed up? Let's go to Freestyle Coder again. He's only got one, and he should not have one person viewing. That's got to be a mistake. It is a mistake. Let's go fix it. Freestyle Coder, we're about to raid. Say hi to Chris for me. Chris is a good friend of mine. Really nice guy. Fellow MVP, I think he's still a Microsoft MVP. If he's not, he should be. Just overall, super nice guy, though. So say hi to Chris, see what he's working on. He is a far smarter engineer than I am, so I'm sure it's something really cool. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Have a good weekend.